They said I didn't belong there. Not in that house with marble floors and chandeliers that glittered like constellations. Not among people who spoke in quiet tones about inheritances and dinner parties. But I was there, barefoot in the servants' corridor, carrying trays, polishing glasses, watching a world I was never meant to touch. And in that world lived Teddy Ashbourne, the boy who smiled at me when everyone else looked away. I never knew that one day, that smile would destroy every wall between us and build something even stronger in its place. I grew up in the Ashbourne estate, the kind of place people whispered about. It sat high above the city, surrounded by sprawling gardens and old stone fountains that never seemed to run dry. My mother worked there as the head maid, quiet and graceful, her hands always busy, her heart always tired. I was the servant's daughter, born between linens and silver polish. But Teddy, the young master, never treated me that way. From the moment we met as children, I was simply Brie. He'd find me hiding in the greenhouse during his tutoring hours, where I'd draw the orchids his mother adored. Sometimes he'd skip lessons just to sit beside me, tracing my sketches with a finger, smiling in that boyish, reckless way that made my chest ache even when I didn't know why. You draw like you see something the rest of us miss. Maybe I just pay attention. Then keep doing that. I like how you see the world. We grew up together. Him in tailored shirts, me in secondhand dresses. Our worlds were separate, but the air between us shimmered with something unspoken. Then came the years when everything changed. When Teddy turned 16, his father sent him abroad to study. The day he left, the house felt emptier than ever. I stood by the servants' entrance, watching the black car roll down the hill. He waved through the window, just once. I waved back, then spent the next 4 years trying to forget how much that moment hurt. But forgetting Teddy Ashbourne was like trying to wash away the scent of rain. Every room, every echo, every evening breeze whispered his name. And when he finally returned, older, sharper, heartbreakingly handsome, the air itself seemed to recognize him before I did. The first time I saw him again, I was in the garden, watering the hydrangeas. His voice came from behind me, lower now, but still unmistakable. "You still hide out here, don't you?" I froze. The watering can slipped from my hands, splashing against the roots. I turned, and there he was, sunlight spilling across his face like a memory made flesh. "You came back. Did you think I wouldn't?" He smiled, that same boyish smile that used to undo me. Only now it carried weight. Years, distance, unspoken words. He reached for the hydrangea nearest him and brushed the petals with his thumb. "You kept them alive." Someone had to. That was the beginning again. But beginnings in the Ashbourne house were never simple. His mother had plans, charities, social events, appropriate company. I was none of those things. Still, Teddy sought me out. He'd find me after dinners, slipping away from his guests to meet me under the old oak by the fountain. "You ever think about leaving this place?" "All the time." "Then let's run away someday." "You don't mean that, don't I?" He looked at me then, and in that moment I believed he did. But love, when it blooms where it shouldn't, always draws eyes. The whispers began almost immediately. The servants who saw too much, the relatives who visited too often. I told myself I didn't care, until his mother found out. The confrontation was quiet, almost polite. She called me into the study one evening, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut glass. "You've been here a long time, haven't you, Brie?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then you must know that lines exist for a reason. My son has responsibilities. You understand that, don't you?" I nodded, because I had no right not to. But when I looked up, my eyes burned, and she saw it, that trace of defiance I couldn't hide. "End it before it ends him." That night, I met Teddy under the oak. The air was heavy with summer heat and everything I couldn't say. "Your mother knows." "I don't care." "You should." "No, Brie, I care about you." He reached for me, and for a moment I let him, but the future stretched between us like a chasm. "You'll hate me for this someday." "Never." But I already knew I had to let him go, because loving him meant ruining him. And that's what I did. I left the Ashbourne estate 2 days later. No note, no goodbye, just silence where love used to live. I thought leaving would be the hardest part. It wasn't. The hardest part was learning how to breathe without the scent of the gardens, without the echo of his laughter trailing down the marble halls. I moved to the city and found a small apartment that smelled of old paint and rainwater. My mother stayed behind. She had nowhere else to go. We rarely spoke about Teddy, though sometimes when she looked at me too long, I could tell she was thinking it. You did the right thing. But right doesn't always mean easy. Days blurred into years. I worked as a florist's assistant, arranging flowers for weddings that weren't mine, writing tiny cards filled with other people's happiness. Each time a bride-to-be said the word love, it hit like a bruise that never healed. Every so often, I'd see the Ashbourne name in magazines, charity galas, business awards, glossy photos of Teddy in tuxedos beside elegant women who looked like they belonged in his world. I'd tell myself I was proud of him. I'd tell myself that's all it was. But on the nights when the city lights blurred outside my window, I'd whisper his name like a prayer I wasn't supposed to say. Then, one rainy afternoon, the past found me again. The bell above the flower shop chimed, and I looked up to see him standing there, soaked from the rain, holding a small paper card in his hand. You still make everything beautiful, don't you? My heart stopped. He looked the same, and yet not at all. The kind of change that happens when time refines a person rather than alters them. His jaw was sharper, his posture more assured, but his eyes, they were still the same gray-blue storms I'd fallen into years ago. Teddy, you left without saying goodbye. I had to. No, you chose to. The words hit harder than I expected. He was right. I had chosen. He looked around the shop, his hand brushing over a vase of tulips. I looked for you, for years. Why? Because you were the only thing that ever felt real. That broke something in me. I wanted to say I'd missed him too, that I dreamed of him every night, but the world outside those walls would never forgive us. You're engaged. Not anymore. Why not? Because I couldn't marry someone when every part of me still belonged to you. The rain thundered against the windows. My chest ached with every word I didn't say. But love, after years apart, is both a gift and a wound. He stayed in the shop for an hour. We talked about everything but the years we lost. When he finally left, he slipped a folded piece of paper into my palm. I waited until he was gone before opening it. It was an invitation to the annual Ashbourne Charity Gala. At the bottom, written in his unmistakable scrawl, "Come, please, one last time." I told myself I wouldn't go. That night, I even threw the invitation in the trash. But as the days passed, I felt it like a heartbeat under the floorboards. When the night came, I found myself standing in front of the Ashbourne estate again, wearing a borrowed dress and shoes that didn't fit. The mansion looked just as I remembered. Grand, distant, untouchable. Inside, the music swelled, chandeliers glowing brighter than stars. I moved quietly through the crowd, trying to blend in. Then I saw him. Teddy stood by the staircase, surrounded by people, yet his eyes found me instantly, as if he'd been waiting for that moment all his life. He crossed the room, ignoring the stares. When he stopped before me, the crowd fell silent, like the world itself was holding its breath. "I didn't think you'd come." "Neither did I." "Then why are you here?" "Because I couldn't stay away." It was reckless. It was everything. His mother was watching. I could feel it, her disapproval, cold and sharp as ever. But Teddy didn't care. He took my hand in front of everyone. "I loved you then, and I love you now, and I don't care who sees it." Gasps rippled through the room. I felt every eye on me, but all I could see was him, his hand trembling slightly, his heart laid bare. "You shouldn't do this. Maybe I should have done it years ago." He leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. "Stay." My pulse roared in my ears. For a moment, I thought I might say yes right then. But then, from across the room, Mrs. Ashbourne moved forward, graceful, deliberate, the queen reclaiming her kingdom. "Teddy, a word." He hesitated, looking between us. I stepped back, my throat tight. "Go? Brie? Please." He went. I turned and left before I could see the look on his face. Outside, the rain had started again. It soaked through my dress as I stood on the steps, trembling with everything I'd wanted to say but couldn't. When I reached the gate, I heard footsteps. But when I turned, no one was there. Only the echo of him fading into the night. The night of the gala, lingered like a bruise I couldn't hide. For weeks, I waited for the ache to fade. It didn't. Teddy didn't call. He didn't write. And though I told myself I had done the right thing, I couldn't silence the part of me that whispered maybe this was the last time. I threw myself into work again. Flowers, ribbons, the scent of soil under my nails. Life became repetition. But love doesn't vanish. It just hides in quieter corners, waiting. Then one morning, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was unsteady. "Brie, something's happened." Her words tumbled out between breaths. There'd been a car accident. Teddy. The world tilted. I dropped the phone, my body moving before my mind caught up. The hospital was all white corridors and antiseptic air. Reporters swarmed outside, whispering about the Ashbourne heir. But when I finally reached his room, none of that mattered. He was there, bandaged, pale, machines humming softly around him. A thin line ran across his temple, where glass had cut deep. I froze at the door until his mother appeared beside me. Her expression softened for the first time in my life. "He kept calling your name after it happened." "What?" "The paramedics said he refused to lose consciousness until he found you." Her voice cracked. The woman who'd once stood like marble now looked human. "He loves you. I was blind not to see it." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she stepped aside. "Go to him." Inside, the beeping machines felt like heartbeats out of sync. I sat by his bed, afraid to touch him, afraid to believe he might not wake up. I whispered his name once, then again, softer. And then his fingers moved. "Brie." Tears blurred everything. I caught his hand and pressed it to my lips. "You scared me. You came back. I never really left." He smiled weakly, his thumb brushing my knuckles. "Then don't leave again." I promised I wouldn't. Days passed. He recovered slowly, stubbornly. The tabloids printed headlines about the accident that changed the Ashbourne heir, but none of them knew what it truly changed. His mother visited often, quieter now, softer. Once, she placed a hand on my shoulder. "Thank you for saving him." I didn't. "You did, long before tonight." When Teddy was finally discharged, he insisted on going back to the estate, but he refused to stay in the main house. Instead, he moved into the small cottage by the orchard, the one where the staff used to rest during summers. If I'm going to start over, I want it to be somewhere real. He asked me to come with him, and for the first time, I didn't say no. Life there was simple, almost absurdly so. We'd wake up to the smell of apples and coffee, spend mornings tending to the garden, evenings by the old oak where everything once began. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me while I worked, the way he used to when we were children. "What?" "Just making sure I didn't dream you." We lived like that for months, quietly, freely, beautifully. But one morning, as I was hanging laundry outside, I saw a car approaching the cottage. It was Mrs. Ashbourne's. She stepped out, her posture dignified as always, but her eyes, gentler now, held something different. "You've changed him, Brie, and perhaps you've changed me too." She handed me a letter, sealed with the Ashbourne crest. The estate's board was mine to oversee after his father's death, but I think it's time Teddy had full control. He'll make better choices than I did. Her gaze lingered on the cottage, the orchard, and then on us. For years, I thought love was something to manage, but I was wrong. It's something to honor. Then she smiled, a fragile, beautiful smile that seemed to carry decades of unspoken apology. "Take care of each other." When she left, Teddy stood beside me, stunned. Then he turned, laughter breaking through disbelief. "Did that just happen?" "I think it did." He looked up at the sky, grinning. "Maybe miracles come late, but they still come." He reached for my hand. The orchard wind swept between us, soft and gold, and for the first time I let myself believe in forever. A year passed. Seasons folded gently over the estate, each one carrying a different shade of peace. The orchards bloomed early that spring, white petals drifting through the air like snow that had learned to be soft. Sometimes I still woke up expecting marble floors and whispers in the hallway, the old weight of being the servant's daughter. But then I'd hear Teddy humming in the kitchen, badly out of tune, and remember that life had rewritten itself. We built something small and imperfect, and because it was ours, it was enough. He ran the Ashbourne business differently now, open, kind, unpretentious. The people who once saw him as untouchable now greeted him by name. He'd bring me flowers from the office garden, laugh when I teased him for picking the wrong ones. At night, we'd sit on the porch, wine glasses in hand, and watch the city lights shimmer below the hill. The same city that had once felt too big for me now felt like it was home.